Good afternoon, morning, evening, whatever the case may be. We are going to do a couple of top 3 lists of mods for the Indian Scout. But first we're going to start with a list of all of the mods that I've done to my bike, and then I'll go through and pick a couple of different categories of top 3s. So from this side of the bike, let's start with the mods that I've done. Here are 2017 rear shocks. These are factory shocks that they started putting on the Indian Scout in 2017. If you have a 2016 or 2015 and you're tired of getting thrown out of the seat when you hit the most minor of bumps, replace the rear shocks with these. You can get them from the dealer. They're like $269 a piece. Or even better, do what I did. I found somebody in the Facebook group who has a 2017 and had upgraded to some very, very expensive shocks, and I bought them from him. I got them for $200 for the pair. So there's a couple of options. That's the one I went through. Anything but those 2015 or 2016 rear shocks. They are not very nice for usability. Next up, Aeromach heel toe shifter. I kept missing second gear, and just upshifting in general sucked on this bike. I never miss a gear anymore. I just hammer down on this thing, and it goes into the next gear whether it wants to or not. It's amazing. It's very comfortable. I can't recommend it highly enough. Now these Kuryakyn floorboards, these are also quite nice. I was just a little bit too short for this bike, so I was really having to ram my feet into the pegs. Forward controls with pegs is just not a good idea in my opinion. So floorboards are great. I can just set my feet down. It was killing my knees trying to ram them into the pegs before. And now that I got floorboards, I just set my feet down. It is so relaxing riding this thing, which is what a motorcycle is all about. You may notice I'm lacking an ignition switch on this side. I've replaced the ignition switch with a digital guard dog keyless ignition system. So the ignition switch is no more. I just leave a key fob in my pocket. I get on the bike and turn on I hit the run stop switch up on the handlebars. We'll cover that in a bit. And bike turns on. It's great. Never have to get the keys out, never have to bump the ignition switch with your knee on the freeway and shut the engine off accidentally. It's happened. So yeah, it's also very easy to steal this bike with the ignition switch right there. So it's definitely a highly recommended thing. Let's move around to the back. Okay. How about that Sissy Bar? So DeanSpeed Sissy Bar. I had this custom made. This is a 15-inch high, or was it 18-inch? Anyways, I'll update it in the comments. I have to look it up. I don't remember. But this is a custom Sissy Bar from DeanSpeed, made to my specs. By specs, I mean he's got a couple of options. It can come up to a point, and I chose to have it rounded because I didn't want any sharp things behind me on the bike. He's got a couple of different logos you can put in the middle. I love this war bonnet with the Indian skull. Cargo rack. Since I've got 2 up, I can't have the factory cargo rack here. So I was like, I still need a cargo rack. So we put it back here. I relocated my license plate because I did not like it hanging down here. And boy, does it tidy up the back of the bike. So the license plate is now hanging from the rack. Got blinkers mounted here. I'll go ahead and turn those on for you guys. Alright, let's turn on the ignition. See, like I said, it's completely off. I hit the button, wiggle the key fob, there we go, and it's on. Okay, now let's turn on the blinkers. There we go. Come on back. There they are. It's a little hard to see in the daylight. May not be the safest thing. Let's get a little shade on them. There you go. Yeah, I probably will be replacing these with something a little bit brighter soon, but for the time being, they count. They are blinking. So, yeah. Anyways, let's go off to the right side now. Here's that shock again. Now, right side. Can't see this side without seeing that exhaust. I get a lot of compliments both on the looks and the sound of this exhaust. It is very, very aggressive. The bike sounds like a muscle car. It definitely lives up to the name muscle bike. It sounds like a V8. It's amazing how throaty and deep and aggressive this exhaust sounds. It's a little bit louder than I'd like, but I wouldn't change a thing because it might change how it sounds. I love the way the tip looks at the end. I like the way it flows 2 into 1. I like how low it is on the bike. It looks like the bike should have shipped with this. It doesn't stick past the end of the back tire. It's absolutely amazing. I love it. You can see down there I've got my gremlin bell hanging from the wires going to the rectifier. Okay, what else have I got back here? Right side, I've got the chrome rims. These are the optional chrome rims you can buy at the dealer. They're normally $500 a piece. I can't say enough good things about them. They bring out the retro in this bike. The bike looks more retro because of these chrome rims. Yeah, they just look really retro. As you can see, I've got a little red dye on the valve stems. Just a little touch, matches the, well, it doesn't exactly match the red of the bike, but I mean it's red like the bike. And of course I changed the rubber. If you've got a 2017 or earlier Indian with the original tires, the ones that say Indian on the side, don't ride it in the rain unless you're a really good rider, because those tires are slick as snot in the rain. Bike is absolutely dangerous in the rain with those tires. 2018s and later, looks like Indian has switched to Night Dragons, Pirelli Night Dragons. I had Pirelli Night Dragons on this when I bought it. I bought this bike used last summer. Previous owner had obviously not liked the original tires and put in the Pirelli Night Dragons. The Pirelli Night Dragons were great in the rain. Definitely solved that problem. My problem was I could still break them loose at hard throttle in a corner, which not something you really want. I mean, it was kind of fun, but you definitely got the chance of throwing yourself off the bike if you're swinging the back end out on a corner. I have not done that yet with these Commander 2s. It feels very stable, but I changed a lot of other things at the same time, certainly not the least of which are the rims. The rims are 20% heavier than the factory rims. Factory wheel tire combo was 30 pounds. These are, for the front, was 30 pounds. For these, they're 36 pounds. That's 20% heavier. So it certainly seems like that would help keep it planted, although that's unsprung weight, so it's supposed to actually be worse. Anyways, let's look at the engine for a moment. Inside the engine, you can't see it, but behind this nice cover is a Rekluse RadiusX auto clutch, automatic clutch, centrifugal. So all I have to do is leave it in first gear at a stop, and I take my hand off the clutch lever. And when I want to go, I just roll on the throttle and off I go. It is really amazing for drag racing. The thing takes off like a bat out of hell. It's great for stop and go traffic. It's great if you want to be safe and keep it in first gear while you're sitting at a light. It's great if the factory clutch weight is too heavy for you. It's certainly too heavy for me. Maybe I'm getting old, maybe I'm a wuss, but it kills my left hand. So having that Rekluse in there is a lifesaver for me. Not to mention it's just more comfortable and more fun. So that's inside the engine. Iridium spark plugs. You won't be able to see those, but I've got a video where I did the swap. I'll link that. I mean, it's got coil-on plug ignition. It's a modern, state-of-the-art ignition system, and they didn't put state-of-the-art spark plugs, but I did. I've got a video on that. Check that if you need the part number, because you cannot look them up. I did a bunch of forum searching to figure out what iridium spark plug part number cross-references to this bike. Also can't see it in here because it's buried up inside the gas tank. I did an Arlen Ness intake. I don't have a video on that because it was just while I was doing the plugs and the guard dog ignition, but it's pretty simple. While you're that deep in the engine, you might as well change the intake. I did that well before I did the exhaust. It was quite possibly the coolest upgrade I'd done to that point. It was a noticeable power increase without even doing a retune, and it sounded really wicked because the factory exhaust was still quiet. At full throttle, it sounded like there was a lion trying to tear its way through my exhaust, through my gas tank and get at my crotch. It was pretty awesome. The gas tank just roared at full throttle. It was amazing. So if you want a quiet bike and you want to stick with a stock exhaust or something similar to it that's quiet, and you put that intake on there and you'll still get a really meaty rumble at full throttle. Okay, next, well, like I mentioned, tuning it. Because I did the intake and I did the exhaust, the engine definitely needed a retune to match the changes in performance. So I bought a DynoJet PowerVision CX. This is not one of the piggybacks like an EJK, an electronic jet kit, or several of the others. Even DynoJet sells a Power Commander 5 for this bike, which is just a piggyback. A lot of those will completely disable your oxygen sensors, so the engine is just completely guessing what kind of, I mean, it's running on pre-calculated tables. So you run different gas, you change altitude, the weather changes, all kinds of different things can change how much fuel you need, and without oxygen sensor feedback, the bike has no idea. So the PowerVision CX is just a flasher. It reflashes a new calibration, new set of tables into the ECM, and it's just a more civilized way of retuning a bike. It seems to be the only one for this. I kind of wish Vance and Hines would bring their Fuel Pack 3 to this bike. I have it on my Harley, and it's nice being able to just pull it up on my phone anytime. My PowerVision CX sits in the closet at home. I flash the bike with it once and I put it away. I can't interface it with my phone. I can only plug it into the bike and like hang it on the handlebars, but it would look stupid there, so I don't want it on my handlebars. So it stays in the closet. So that would be one thing I would like, is a Fuel Pack 3 or DynoJet to come out with a new PowerVision CX. But still, it's the best one you can get for this bike at the time. Also hidden in here, you can't really see it, but deep in there, I put a new battery in recently. I've got a video on that. It's an AntiGravity brand lithium ion battery, lithium iron phosphate to be exact. It's got what was it, 480 cranking amps. It's a massive beast of a battery. And this thing, you should hear it crank over when like I stop for gas and I go and I hit the start button. It's just cranks this engine over like nobody's business. It's an amazing battery. I left the bike parked for a week and a half while it was raining. Didn't have it on a tender because honestly this battery takes a different tender that costs a lot of money, so I haven't bought it yet. But a week and a half, my other battery would definitely be dead as a doornail after that amount of time. I don't know why, but this one, I come out, I hit the button, it fires right up. It was 37 degrees outside, 37 degrees Fahrenheit, and this thing still fired right up like nothing had changed. It's pretty amazing. Now let's go underneath the engine. This is going to be a hard one to see, but oh, not too bad. There we are. This is the Aeromach debris shield. It protects rocks from getting kicked up and hitting the oil filter or the heat exchanger that the oil filter screws into. I've seen a couple people online who have hit it with a rock and the heat exchanger starts leaking radiator fluid, and now you got to go get it towed home and buy a part that Indian takes months to order for you. So this thing was pretty affordable. It looks great. You can't see it unless you want to see it, and it protects everything. So I haven't had any problems with it, and I'm very happy I bought it. While we're under here, you can see my Barnett clutch cable comes down. This is a must-have. The factory clutch cable will fail on these bikes. This is just something that you should have. So yeah, the Barnett clutch cable comes up. It's nice braided to match the brake cables on the bike, whereas the factory one was black. So this one looks better, performs way better. I've seen lots of people online who have switched to it and are just amazed. Okay, so after that comes the DayMaker LED Headlight. It's on right now. This is one I actually bought for my Harley, and then it started filling with moisture, so I took it off, threw it in a closet. And when I bought this bike, I was like, well, I still got that in the closet, and I tossed it in this bike. I'm eventually going to buy a JW speaker, one of the ones that when you lean into the corner, it lights up extra lights. I'm going to upgrade to one of those. I'm actually getting a knockoff clone from AliExpress for 170 bucks. It's a really good deal. But for the time being, this is still in the bike. Next up, we've got the Dart Flyscreen. I had too much wind buffeting on my shoulders without a windscreen at all. The factory windshields, there are a lot of people talk about really bad buffeting up at higher speeds. So that was definitely out. That, and I don't like how the factory windshields change the complete look of the bike. They turn it into some other kind of bike. It's just way too tall, and so this thing, you barely even notice it. It's just really out of the way and nice. I've got a video on that, so check the description for a link to that. And as you can see blinking right here, I've got signal mirrors. I've removed my front blinkers from the bike completely. I did not do a video on installing these. I kind of regret not having done that, but I think I was in a hurry at the time. Anyways, these are knockoffs from eBay, V-Rod signal mirrors. I had to buy mirror extenders because the wire comes out the bottom of these. So these shifted out so that I can get the wire out the bottom. There's no way to get the wire out of the bottom of this. At least, yeah, not reasonably. It would run into the levers. So, I like these. They're just knockoffs from eBay, but they're rock solid stable while the engine's running at any speed. The extenders got them up above my shoulders. I can just see behind me perfectly out of both of these. And getting those blinkers off the front was great. I saw these on an actual V-Rod and was like, dude, I want your mirrors. So I went on eBay and found them for a reasonable price. And then back to the forks. I put progressive fork springs in here, along with progressive fork spring oil, 20 weight. This did wonders. I was constantly bottoming out the front shocks. When I drained the oil out, I could see that having bottomed it out so much was causing damage. The oil that came out of here was just black and had all kinds of glittery debris in it. So I flushed the forks while I had it apart, got some of the debris out of there and put fresh oil in there. The heavier weight, 20 weight oil helps slow down the dampening so it's not so bouncy. The stronger springs and progressive springs, they do a better job of dampening and keeping it from bottoming out. I don't think I've had it bottom out since. It's been great. Okay, up the middle, here we go. Phone holder, I'm not really going to count. So this is a wireless charger for my phone. I've got a video on that if you really care. I'll link it, but yeah. Let's go reduced reach bars. So these are the factory reduced reach bars. They're constantly back ordered, so many people are buying them. I've raked them way back. So you can see they're sitting pretty low. They're perfect for me. It lets me sit almost completely upright. I'm still leaning forward a little bit, but it's not bad. And it's really nice. I like these bars. On the bars, I put Kuryakyn grips. These are, I don't recall what these were. I meant to buy the spear grips and I got the wrong ones, but this is what I've got, so I'm running with it. I think the spear grips look amazing. They look like Indian arrows. I wish I'd gotten them, but that's that. I had a lot of trouble getting this one to stick. I tried 4 times when I first installed it, and then I had to try a 5th time just recently. This final time, I actually took the when the grip fell off while I was riding the stupid bike. When I got home, I wrapped the bar with electrical tape because the grip is just flat too big for the bar. So I wrapped the bar with electrical tape, 2 layers, and it was finally really tight, slipping it on there. Then before I finally drove it home, I coated the outside electrical tape with super glue and then just rammed it home. And it's way more rock solid than it ever was before, so I'm quite happy with it now. Arlen Ness Gas Cap. Since I went to a keyless ignition, it only made sense to do a keyless gas cap. So, yeah, I just love it. Just screws on. Not so trendy as the original jet engine or jet airplane kind of gas cap this bike comes with. And finally, the seat that took me 3 months to get. Well, 3 months if you count the time I had to send it back because they ignored the part where I told them I was short and I couldn't reach the controls anymore when I first put it on, so I had to mail it back. But yeah, it took a while to get this, but it was worth it. This is the Corbin dual touring seat. It's not cheap at all. but oh boy, was it worth it. The factory seat was actually fine for me, and so I'm okay with the factory seat on this bike. I mostly got it for my passenger. Sometimes I got my girlfriend on here. A lot of times I have one of my kids on here, and that factory little pad is just, it's good enough for emergency use. If you have to, if in an emergency you need to get somebody somewhere, that factory little pad is okay. For any distance, more than like 5 miles, it's not good enough. It hurts. It is the most uncomfortable thing you could possibly sit on. So, this is a touring seat. It looks great. I have described it as having your ass cupped by the hands of an angel while you're going down the road. Literally, imagine an angel holding her hands out, holding your ass while you ride down the road. It is so comfortable. It's just like floating on a cloud. So, I love this seat. If I didn't need the dual touring, I'd at least buy their one-up. The part you've all been waiting for. The top 3 for looks category. Number 3, RPW Axe Exhaust System. That exhaust looks amazing. It's way better than the factory exhaust. Every time I see a picture of this bike with a factory exhaust on it, and I took a lot of pictures back in the day, yeah, I cringe when I look at the exhaust. I'm like, oh man, hide that exhaust. This one, I just love it. I get compliments all the time. I pulled up at a Harley dealer and they're like, man, that's a good looking exhaust. And sounding. So, number 2, DeanSpeed Sissy Bar. How about that? I love that skull war bonnet. It's just awesome. I saw that and I was like, I have to have that. I wanted a Sissy Bar for my passengers. Came with a cargo rack, but yeah, just love that Sissy Bar for looks. Spoke rims. Need I say more? It brings out the retro in this Indian Scout. Makes it look more retro, and that's always a good thing. Next 3, top 3 for usability. The digital guard dog keyless ignition, just huge usability increase. I just love being able to get on the bike, turn on the key, or turn on the run stop switch and hit the start. No key. I love being able to just park the bike, turn it off, and walk away. Don't have to remember to pull the key out. I don't have the ignition switch on this bike is mounted so low. I was constantly, before I had got on the bike, I had to reach down here and put the key in the hole, fish around, and then turn the key on before I got on the bike. If I got on the bike and I'd forgotten to do that, gotta get back off the bike, or I'm hanging my head down, upside down. It was really annoying. So that's a massive usability increase. Aeromach heel toe shifter. This is a huge, nice increase. I mean, missing gears is so embarrassing. When you miss a gear in front of somebody, it's like, oh yeah, that guy must not know how to ride. So solves that problem way better. And of course we've discussed this, but the Michelin Commander 2 tires, these things stick like nobody's business. I've ridden this bike down to 27 degrees outside and it felt planted. It is amazing. These tires, can't recommend them highly enough. Everybody tells you to go to Commander 2s. Believe them. Top 3 for performance. Let's do these in the right order this time. Coming in at number 3, DynoJet PowerVision CX. Obviously, you're going to want to tune this bike. It does things like raise the rev limiter, raise the bike's top speed limiter, throttle response. It makes the throttle way more touchy. It's amazing. It's almost too touchy now and I need to go back and turn it down a little bit, but the fact that I can do that is amazing. Number 2, Arlen Ness intake. If you don't want a loud exhaust, at least go with a better intake. That Arlen Ness intake sounds amazing at full throttle. At idle, you'd never know anything had changed. And coming in on this list as well is the RPW exhaust. The performance increase is phenomenal. You 2-into-1. The reason 2-into-1 is better than dual exhaust is the impulse from one exhaust will be coming down the pipe and it'll cause a scavenging effect, essentially sucking the exhaust impulse of the next cylinder down, and they'll go back and forth. They'll be sucking on each other. It's amazing. It helps performance. It's undeniable. Next up, comfort. Top 3 for comfort. Coming in at number 3 is the suspension. The stock rear shocks were throwing me out of the seat. Stock front shocks were bottoming out, way too bouncy. It was not a good combo. So that's number 3. Number 2, Kuryakyn floorboards. Like I said, it was killing my knees with the factory pegs. Just wasn't tall enough to set my foot on the pegs, so I had to ram my feet into the pegs. Toss some floorboards on here. I like these Kuryakyn ones. These are the spear ones. So you see it's got kind of an arrow, and there's the arrowhead. It's got the Indian theme going on for it. Someday I'll probably go to the spear grips that match these, but anyways. And finally, number 1 is that touring seat. Corbin dual touring. Like I said, didn't think I needed it. Boy howdy is it amazing. I can be in that saddle all day long, and I get off the bike and it's like, yeah, I'm not in pain. I'm not uncomfortable. That seat was amazing the whole trip. So those are all of my top 3 lists. So I hope you enjoyed this list of mods. The video turned out a bit longer than I had intended. But thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I will eventually start doing some more mods on this bike, although I'm not sure what I want to do anymore, because bike is perfect in my view. But anyways, thanks.